I'll start by explaining the Ding Darling Wildlife Society, that is the Friends of the Refuge group that supports the Jay and Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge. They provide funding for many conservation education programs, including WOW, the Wildlife on Wheels, a unique mobile classroom that visits multiple schools in our area, and the Roving Ranger, a visitor center on wheels. Both are a key part of the Refuge Urban Education Initiative. Unfortunately, Anne-Marie Wildman, the executive director of the society, is unable to attend today and asked Toni Westland to take her place. Toni is no stranger to urban education. In 2020, she was the lead designer for and executed the WOW program, as well in 2024, the Roving Ranger Community Outreach Program. Originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh.
Woo! All right! Woo! She's head!
She graduated from the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point in 1998 with a Bachelor of Science in Natural Resource Management, a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Education and Interpretations, and a minor in Environmental Communication. She worked 5 years with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as a federal park ranger and transferred to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge in November of 2002. For the past 20 plus years at the refuge, Toni has conducted experimental education, interpretation, outreach, and media. She planned special events, undertook website development, created brochures and refuge signage, all as an environmental education specialist. In 2009,
I am never sending anyone my bio again. Terry is so thorough. Does everyone know Terry well? I love Terry Baldwin.
let me continue. In 2009, Toni was promoted to supervisor, refuge ranger, overseeing visitor service programs, the refuge system contract with Tarpon Bay Explorers, and refuge liaison with the Ding Darling Wildlife Society. On to page 2.
Never again.
To itemize all Toni has accomplished would take so much time. There won't be time left to hear her presentation. She won 5 national awards and much recognition from many national refuges as she consulted with, including Lake Baikal, preserved in Russia. And I think that was in 2012.
That was the best part, going to Russia, yes.
Toni was also recognized by international wildlife conservation groups for her work in conservation education. In her spare time, Toni enjoys traveling and enjoying the outdoors with her daughter Sophia, 17, Adriana, 16, and her friend Kevin.
There we go.
Now I'll introduce you to Melissa Maher.
Don't worry, it's not 3 pages.
You guys have a good time.
Melissa Maher is the Refuge Urban Education Leader for the Wildlife on Wheels mobile classroom. The program debuted in December 2020 with Melissa as the teacher. She coordinates WOW on-site visits to the Title I schools in Lee County. She also creates and aligns WOW K-12 curricula to ensure that they match Sunshine State science standards. With her small staff, Melissa educates students about conservation and wildlife protection. She did not mention this in her bio, But the word on the street is that WOW provides on-site classes for several thousand students each year.
That's part of the presentation.
Before moving to Fort Myers in 2020, education has always been an intricate part of her life. Melissa worked in traditional school settings in the state of Illinois and Wisconsin for 20 years, where she held the position of teacher, school program manager, and district career coordinator. Melissa is also passionate about health and fitness and loves to strength train 5 days a week. In her spare time, she enjoys relaxing days on the beach and watching the Los Angeles Dodgers. Play baseball. Please welcome Toni and Melissa.
Yeah! Maybe you read in the paper, and hopefully you have, we're finally getting an AC contract in Darling. We're finally getting air conditioning. It took 3 years. I don't want to say your government tax dollars at work, but it's your government tax dollars at work. It takes a while to get these things done. And our AC went under the building. Not a good design in 1999. We weren't thinking that. But to be sustainable, we're going to have it above the building, and we're going to drop the ceiling. So the visitor center, you won't be able to be in the exhibits. You can shop in the nature store. You can see Susie on Wednesdays. You can use the restroom. But all the way, it started March 1. I need to make this announcement because if you have people visiting and you want to kick them out of your house and send them to Ding Darling, they can go on the wildlife drive. They can hike the trails. You can send them in the nature center and everything. But they won't be able to see the exhibits until probably October or November. So we've got to have air conditioning. You all understand, right? And even heat. We were without heat this winter. It was cold. So I just need to say that. But we are this perfect trifecta. We mentioned Melissa works for the Ding Darling Wildlife Society, which is the nonprofit that's part of Terry's organization. And then we have the government, which is I am your tax dollars at work. So hopefully you love the Ding Darling Wildlife Refuge. We are your lands. We could all sing, this land is your land, right? These are your tax dollars. You all own the land over there. You should enjoy it. And so we've got the government, we have the nonprofit, and then we also have Tarpon Bay Explorers. And I have some of their publications up here. If you've not gone out, they just recently got the little boats back, and also kayaking and bike rentals. So there is a business. So we call ourselves the perfect trifecta, and that is all of what makes up Ding Darling. So we like to always start out about that. That is all of what makes up Ding Darling. There's Tarpon Bay Explorers. So it is a concession. And so I oversee that concession. A part of that percentage comes back to operate on the refuge lands. And they did just renew their contract, but they did take a big hit after, you know, the I don't know, I'm start mentioning all these names again. Ian, you know, Helene, Milton. But they did lose their big boat. Hopefully we'll get that very soon. That was a great tour boat. Their touch tanks and such, but they're slowly coming back. They did, if you want to click to the next one, they did get renewed until 2039. So there's a good way, if you got people visiting, send them over to Tarpon Bay Explorers. Get them out on a kayak. If you've never kayaked Tarpon Bay, it's awesome. The average feet is 5 feet. I am a measuring stick. 5 feet deep. You fall out of the kayak, stand up. Okay? If you can be kayaking with manatees, it's amazing. You stand up. There is a cool kayak trail called Commodore Creek Trail when you're kayaking in the mangroves. It is completely amazing. So all of that's happening, and it's Tarpon Bay Explorers. Our mission, I'd like to point out, this is the mission of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and they just recently added the beginning, which is working with others. We know we cannot get it done without everybody, but our job is to conserve and protect the resources. So again, this is your land, everybody. These are federal lands. You all own it. We manage it for the future, and it's to protect the wildlife and the habitats to have forever. And so get out and enjoy it, and we want you guys to do that. So the biggest question we've had since all the hurricanes is, where did the wildlife go? Does anybody know? Where'd they go?
Underground.
In your backyard right here. Well, they're probably back.
Underground.
Some went underground. Some slithered away. Some flew away. If you had wings, you flew away, right? Gosh, I was here during Charlie. Anyone here during Hurricane Charlie? Okay, we've got some Charlies. Okay. We know during Hurricane Charlie, there were sharks that were tagged. That was the first of its kind. And 8 hours before Hurricane Charlie hit us, sharks left the area. And then 8 hours after, like clockwork, the sharks came back. We had no idea this was happening. We had no idea about hurricanes. That was a long time ago. And now during Hurricane Ian, well, we weren't even really looking, and we didn't even have sharks tagged then. But animals are smarter than people. And they feel the pressure. In that case, the sharks felt the drop of the barometric pressure. Even, well, ladies had more babies during that time. And so, in this case, if you had wings, you flew away. We were leaving for Hurricane Ian, and there were 3 baby raccoons in a tree out front of our visitor center. And there's a strangler fig, and all we kept thinking was, where are those babies gonna go? And when we came back, those raccoons were there. And that strangler fig is wrapped around, a palm tree. If you know anything about strangler figs, there's lots of really cool hidden areas, you can hide up there. Well, that's where they were. And you can make it in all of those nooks and crannies and probably make it through 70-mile-an-hour winds, and they made it. We came back, and a bobcat ran across the parking lot, and you're thinking, I can make it, they can make it. So those terrestrial animals probably hung on for dear life, went to the tops of wherever they could go, trees, buildings, But for the most part, probably the birds flew, other animals hunkered down, but that's where they went. As for nests, a lot of people, we've got record-breaking nests when it comes to numbers right now. And a lot of people are wondering, why is that? It's probably because we're able to see the nests better. Our data might be skewed. We're seeing more mangrove cuckoos. Has anyone seen a mangrove cuckoo before? You've taken great pictures of mangrove cuckoos. I've got to. Melissa, will you be Vanna White for me?
Yes, I will.
Show this off. This is the most sought after bird probably all at Ding Darling. It's a mangrove cuckoo.
I heard one in my
You've heard one. You're gonna see this bird more than ever. I challenge you to get out and try to find one of these. Birders from all over the world come to see this bird. It's on a life list for people all over the world. I've been at Ding Darling for over almost 23 years now, and I've probably seen more since the hurricane than I've ever seen. And it's because there's not a lot of vegetation. Now you can see this bird. It's bigger than a robin. It's probably crow-sized, more crow-sized. Look for the bands on the tail, but that is a cool bird, very secretive, called the mangrove cuckoo. That's a cool bird.
It was there Saturday, but hiding, I didn't see it.
Okay.
Other people saw it.
We're seeing them all over, so I challenge you to get out to see that. But record-breaking nests, probably because less vegetation. Maybe something more positive since the hurricanes, if you're looking for a silver lining. We're having record-breaking nests now. Seasons events. So let's click on these. You can grab this whenever you want. These are just what Anne Marie wants us to talk about.
Okay. Is there a change in the birds also? I mean, do they have 3 wings or, is there some kind of adaptation to hurricanes that
No.
or more twins were born? Or-
No, we're seeing the same amount in the nests. We're just thinking the data could be skewed because now we're seeing inside those rookery islands. We travel around the rookery islands by boat. We are, with more technology, able to use drones. We don't allow drone use on our lands, by the way. No drone use on U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service lands. We use it for data collection. We can fly around without flushing the birds and see them, but it's because you could actually see the nest better. But same amounts of babies in there, no crazy, same amount of babies within the nest, but just being able to count the birds and the nests because there's a lot less vegetation. If that makes sense. Yeah, all the way over there.
Before you go on to
Yeah.
we used to have so many rabbits on the island before Ian. I haven't seen any in our yard yet.
Rabbits took a
I've heard
hit.
There are some on the island, but what can you tell us about that?
Rabbit populations are cyclic in general, and that sometimes has to do with rabies and other populations. That happens, we deal with crow and other situations when it comes to, there's disease that will hit populations of raccoons and such too, where we have to go and rescue raccoons. The disease hits populations of raccoons on the island and they start acting crazy, and then we have to help crow on the island go and get raccoons that are acting nuts. Sometimes you see that where they start acting crazy, and so, but there will be cycles with populations with rabbits, but we definitely see a crazy population dive with the rabbits, but that's just because there was so much water on this island, right? And I didn't think I was ever going to see a gopher tortoise again on this island, right? I never thought.
Can I say something?
The amount of water going in and onto the burrows, but
we teach about this at the Wildlife on Wheels. In 5th grade, the learning standard is to compare and contrast adaptations of animals. And our gopher tortoise is one we definitely hit upon with the students, and we related to Hurricane Ian because, as Ranger Toni said, we were nervous we were going to lose all of them. So we always ask the kids, well, how do you think some of them survived? And of course they always say, oh, well, they probably went under in the burrow. Well, no, because that burrow would easily flood out.
Yes.
And that's not going to help because they die in water. They can't swim. The gopher tortoise actually has an adaptation that's called a cloaca. It's actually part of the reproductive system, but I would say in hard times, it's able to breathe through this cloaca. But it takes a lot of energy for this tortoise to do that. And so it becomes very still, and it can only breathe for a short amount of time using this cloaca. I can't tell you how much time. We've tried to research that, but I cannot find that. I just keep seeing short amount of time, because of course that's a question a kid in 5th grade is gonna ask us, like, well, how long? How long can they do it?
of course.
And it's like, I'm sorry, we don't know that answer, and we tried Googling it, and that we couldn't find the answer to that either. So, but just something really cool to relate at our refuge and what happened, because a lot of these kids were here during Ian for them to learn. Yes.
We were on I think it was Adventures in Paradise, tour, and the person told us that some of our tortoises who were tagged after Ian ended up on Pine Island. Do you know anything about that?
Oh, I know that they will float. Tortoises will float. You'll see that. Not that we want them to. We don't want people to put them in water ever, because we don't know how long they'll float, and that's not fun to put an animal that isn't supposed to be in water, that cannot swim. It doesn't have flippers. It has claws for digging. So you don't want people to try to do that, but they will float and bob. So maybe that's how, or they get onto something and travel, but they definitely could have gotten onto something, or, heaven forbid, be thrown somewhere. You know what I mean? You just don't even know. I can't even imagine what happened out here during all of that. So, hard to say. Yeah, can't even imagine what happened out here during all of that. Yeah.
Art in the Wild, right?
Art in the Wild.
Art in the Wild.
So Art in the Wild happens on Sanibel. Why might we have Art in the Wild? What did Ding Darling do? Raise your hand for a gift. What did Ding Darling do?
He was a cartoonist.
He was a famous cartoonist. Terry, do you want to be my Vanna White and go back for a gift? There. Yes, right back there, famous artist. Someone just said he drew a duck stamp. Who just said that? Duck stamp, duck stamp. Here we go, and over there. So Ding Darling drew a duck stamp. These are definitely art. Darling, right? We have photography. Terry's a photographer. That we have lots of photography contests, fly tying. Anytime we can bring art in with children, big children like us, anytime we can bring art, muralists, you can do art in all sorts of different ways, but Ding Darling was an artist, and we bring that in all the time. So Art in the Wild happens on site in the fall, depending on what's going on with the government contract. I can't promise anything. But we have Art in the Wild that happens at Ding Darling, so more to come. But that's why we have all sorts of art all the time at Ding Darling. The Roost. We're about to have Teddy Roosevelt here this week. Did you guys know that? Have you met a dead president before? Yeah, on Thursday. You can meet a dead president at 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock. It's free. Okay, it's free. You just gotta come out and get a wristband. President Teddy Roosevelt, he is outstanding. I'll be taking him to Heights Elementary on Friday to blow the kid's mind that I will be accompanying a dead president. But yes, yeah, Terry.
He will be at Shell Point on the Wednesday.
Oh,
I believe.
we're taking the dead president everywhere. Shell Point.
1 to 2.
Okay, 1 to 2. We're bringing him all over the islands. Yes, and so, but free at Ding Darling on Thursday also. So anyway, point is, the Roost is this really cool open space. Thank you to the Ding Darling Wildlife Society. This is what donors make happen. After COVID, we realized we need space outdoors where we can distance ourselves from each other and be outside to do really cool things, and it's called the Roost. And so we have cool things like Teddy Roosevelt on Thursday.
And yoga.
And yoga.
Sometimes, and musicians.
Yes, and musicians.
We
and
did
fun
the
things.
Eclipse program.
The Eclipse program. We checked out the eclipse safely. We do cool things. Yeah. Okay, winter programs. Vanna White, also aka Alyssa. We have free programs. Again, another reason to come out to Ding Darling if you've never been there. Fridays at the Bailey Track, you could do mindful birding with Ranger Jess, but there's all sorts of nature photography, early morning birding, mangrove walks, all sorts of things. They're all free. Again, if you have people visiting and you need to get them out of your house, send them to Ding Darling. These all go on until April 5th. So a couple more weeks of free programs at Ding Darling. If they were supposed to be inside the visitor center, they're going to be out at the Roost now. So just come find us, but they're all free. So we want you to join us at Ding Darling, free programs, winter programs, and we have summer programs too. But it's just hot and buggy. But we still want you to join us. Okay, more about this urban initiative. Theodore Cross High School Photo Contest. Again, this is about kids, getting them outside. They can take pictures in their backyards or wherever they are, and we get them outdoors, and they win. Anyway, it's a photo contest just to get kids excited about being out into nature. And so we have that going on, we wanted to talk about. And also the lecture series. So this is ending with President Teddy Roosevelt, but we just had a long series all this season. The Python Huntress, all these different things that we had going on, and this is all put on with the Ding Darling Wildlife Society. But ending this month, this week, with Joe Wiegand, President Teddy Roosevelt. Ding Wellness, and Melissa just mentioned about yoga, and so this is something we started at Ding, and it's not just one-time event. We try to incorporate every week at the Bailey Tract on Friday. You can come out and do mindfulness. We have the first ever mindfulness trail. It's self-guided at the Bailey Tract, so you can go do mindfulness at the Bailey Tract by yourself. Has anyone been out to the Bailey Tract? Okay.
And
Some
it's
people,
accessible.
yeah, good. Some people forget about the Bailey Tract. They know about the main area of Ding Darling, but the Bailey Tract, is just dead ends down here. Take a left on Turpin Bay Road. It's our satellite. It's 100 acres. It's fresh water. It's off the beaten path. It's only biking and hiking. You know, if you need some time for yourself, that's why we put the mindfulness trail out there. It's just a nice area that there's not a lot of people, and it really does feel like wilderness. It doesn't feel like you've got cars and everybody with you and around you, so it's just a nice place. And so that's why we put the trail out there. It's just go and you can enjoy yourself by yourself. But Susie has helped us to try to make it more accessible, something we want to do, and add more accessibility to it in the future with more grants. But we're trying to do more ding wellness and do it out there. Junior duck stamp. We mentioned the duck stamp and that Ding Darling drew the first one. We also have junior duck stamp. Jay Boswell and her husband Bill, who most recently passed away, they started the junior duck stamp here on Sanibel Island. And they are celebrities to us. And now the junior duck stamp is in all 50 states and in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And now 50,000 kids draw a junior duck stamp, and that is this month. The contest happens all around in every state, and it's made into a $5 stamp. And so it's junior duck stamp time. It's just a great thing that happens now where kids are learning about wetlands and ducks and the importance, and just a really cool thing that happened here on Sanibel, and it's all over. And so anyway, cool thing, the junior duck stamp. So a lot of urban things we're doing. Kids don't think about ducks around them, and we try to bring ducks to them and get them outside and get them drawing and thinking about other things.
Even at the WOW,
Yeah.
the mobile classroom that goes out, you're gonna hear a little bit more about it coming up soon. We have an outside exhibit that is called Doodle Like Ding. So they learn about Ding Darling, and then there's a picture of the duck stamps. We tell all grade levels, whether from pre-K through 5th grade, that we want them to act like Ding himself, and you're gonna make your own duck stamp. I mean, I've seen many ducks without eyes with these kids. It depends how big our group is, and we have to time them because some of these kids want to like draw so well, and we don't have the time to do it because it's a 40-minute class. And so when they get time, you know, they're going as quickly as they can and adding water and the sun and clouds. But yeah, it's always a joke where I'm like, oh my goodness, it's my first eyeless duck. And then I realize, oh, and then they yell up to the next kids in the group, don't forget the eye, don't forget the eye.
Nice. Oh my gosh. Melissa makes it fun out there, but you gotta time the kids, you're right. They'll just take forever.
Yes.
Take pride in there, yeah. So here is the Roving Ranger. So we received $100,000 from Urban Money, which was to take money and design something, to create something to go out into the urban communities. And $100,000 sounds like a lot of money, but then you're like, it's really not a lot of money. And, excuse me, I am currently the only ranger at Ding Darling. And I'm thinking, how can I get another ranger? For $100,000, you can't get another ranger, and it's not gonna last you long. And so I have temporary rangers. I have 3 rangers that we pay with the money when you come through Ding Darling's gates. And I thought, how are we gonna take urban money and get people to know about Ding Darling off in the urban communities? And I kept seeing food trucks, food trucks, food trucks. Well, food trucks are clever, and we can't, make food. And how are we gonna sell nature? We can't sell nature. And so I decided we could buy a 14-foot food truck. And so I found out we bought a 14-foot box truck for $100,000. And this is government money. And then the Ding Darling Wildlife Society put another $200,000 into it. And that's how I got to make it fancy. We got to put the window in it, and the TV screen, and the PA system, and I get to wrap it and put the lights, and retrofit the inside and everything else, and it became a visitor center on wheels. And now we can go down to Collier County, and we can go to all of these places off island. We can take Sanibel Island off island to the communities. And so that's how the Roving Ranger was born. We just used it for the first time at the Burring Owl Festival in Cape Coral. in February was our inaugural visit, and we just started taking it to places. So this is the first of taking it out. So very exciting. We will, we invite you all to the Conservation Carnival. Susie better be there. Event. She's the best at making people play the games. It's a free event for everybody. It's for families, but everybody. Don't have to have a full family. Everyone's welcome to come play games, go birding, play games, win prizes, face painting. We have a rock climbing wall, a dunk tank, Dunk-a-Ranger, free snow cones, everything at Lakes Park. Another thing, you know, we love people to come to Sanibel, but not everybody can get here. Not everybody can pay the toll. We found out not everybody can even have vehicles to come. And we want them to learn about nature, to love nature. And it's just, we don't want we always have all the traffic over here either. Did you say that out loud? You know, we love it. But if we want people to love and appreciate nature, we need to meet them where they're at. And so Melissa knows it first thing. She's teaching these kids, they've never seen the ocean. They don't know where Sanibel is because they've never been here. So Melissa takes her team and goes to them. That's why we developed the WOW, and you're gonna see it in just a few minutes. We have to go to them and where they're at. There's only one Ranger Toni, there's only one WOW team, there's only one Sanibel. We got to go find the children. We have to tell them about nature, or they're never gonna appreciate it. The first time I went out with Melissa's team, there was these kids, and we were at Edison Park. I'll never forget this cute little kid, Cameron, and we were talking about fishing line, and I'm gonna try not to cry, and I'm already crying because I was talking to this kid about fishing line and the importance of fishing, and a lot of these communities fish to be able to eat, and they fish in the canals, and they fish because they want to bring something to their families. It's something special that they can provide for their families. And so this short little kid, Cameron, was telling me that, but I was telling him about keeping your fishing line and not throwing it into the canal where you're fishing. He did not understand the concept of not throwing his fishing line into the canal. The exact place where he was fishing, he was throwing his trash. But no one had taught him that. Why was he to know that? How was he to know that? Until someone told him that. Don't throw the trash the place where you're going to eat your fish. And it was like this light bulb came on, and he was just like, oh my gosh. He got so sad, and he came up to me, and he was pulling on my uniform, and I turned around. He wanted to tell me over in the corner, and he said, Ranger Toni, I throw my fishing line. It's like he had to confess. I throw my fishing line in the water, and my sister, I tell her, and she throws her fishing line in the water. And I said, it is okay. Now you know, and you tell your sister too, and now you're not gonna throw your trash in and it was just like this epiphany. And by God, now he's not gonna do that, and now he knows, and that's gonna be safer for him and everything. But until you teach them, how are they to not to know that? And it's just these little things that you hope you're making steps in the right direction, because no one's teaching them that. So, anyway, little things like that. Tarpon tournament, you talk about the tarpon tournament.
Tarpon tournament in May. Have anyone been here at tarpon tournament in the past?
That's a big
No, this is one of our, for Dean Darling Wildlife Society, this is one of our big events where we get lots of different teams, males and females, that will come out, and I mean, they're starting early in the morning, 5 a.m. in the morning, they're starting.
Catch and release.
Catch and release.
Don't catch them with me.
And then they got, I learned my first year working it, there's a lot involved in this tournament as to people calling it in, texting it in, marking, keeping the data as to who's winning. They have to take a test to make sure that they're telling the truth. I mean, it's a big, big deal, but it is so much fun. I have enjoyed it the last 3 years working it, just because you get to mingle with people, get to know where they're from. We have a silent auction, and working with Doc Ford's. We've raised lots of money for conservation and education.
Yeah.
So as a teacher, I find it really important. So hopefully we'll see some of you in May for this wonderful tournament.
One year they did citizen science. They swabbed the fish for the state of Florida and took data for the tarpon, which I thought was really cool. It's a very historic, it's a fish and they needed data. I thought, well, yeah, good stuff for that too. So we were giving data to the state about tarpon. Okay. Fourth graders, come out to Ding Darling. We have a partnership with the Lee County School District. And they actually, the Ding Darling Wildlife Society pays, his name is John Bailey, and he drives the bus, brings the fourth graders out. And I think we can actually switch to the next one. I want to see if anybody knows. I think it's the, yes. Anybody heard about this pass? Anybody have any fourth graders out there? Know any fourth graders? During the Obama administration, and this continues with every administration, this is one thing all administrations get along with, thank goodness. Fourth graders, and so if you know of any fourth graders, any fourth grade teachers across the nation, every fourth grader can get a fourth grade pass. You can get them at Ding Darling or across the nation, and it looks like a credit card. Kids often think it's a credit card. One kid asked me if they could take it to Target. No, you can't take it to Target. It gets you into Ding Darling for free. Grand Canyon, anything federal. It gets them, it's an $80 pass. And is anyone, and if you can show me one, you'll get a actual little magnet. Anybody else have a pass on you? Any of the senior passes? Not that anyone's old enough to have a senior pass. Does anybody have one? Can anyone show me one? Can anyone show me a pass? No? Okay, it's just like the pass that you all have. If you are old enough to have one. Oh, we got one here. What one's yours?
Access pass.
Access pass, very nice. Access pass is
Anyone
given.
else?
Access pass is given to anyone at any age. Good job, Susie has an access pass. But then there's ones, if you're over 62, right, you can get a pass. Well, this one is for fourth graders, and you have to be in fourth grade. So no one here should have one, because you're not fourth graders. Oh, here's one. Good job. These used to be $10. These used to be $10. How many years when it was $10? And then they went to 80. This is her senior pass, but you must be handing out goodies. Are you handing out goodies? Okay. Okay, she's handing out other goodies. She's handing out goodies. Okay, handing out goodies. Okay, good. Okay, she's handing out goodies. Oh my gosh, look at hers is faded. Do you see how much she's been using it and leaving it in her refrigerator? You can actually, after a while, beg them, and they'll probably, switch it out for you. You could swap it out, but it still works. And it shows, I think it shows that you've had it a while and you use it. So I think you should keep it. Anyway, point being, it's good for you and everybody in your car. And the fourth graders, it's just to get them outside and get them, it makes them feel very responsible and very cool that they can get there and get them to plan a trip with their families. So it's good for 1 year. And become fifth graders, no longer. It's a fourth grade thing, and it's based on science standards and getting kids outside, and so that happened during that administration, and it does continue throughout the other administrations.
Before this next one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna lead into Wildlife on Wheels, which is wow, short is wow. That is the 36-foot mobile classroom, all due to the Ding Darling Wildlife Society. I am the urban education leader for it. I've been with it since it all debuted in December of 2020. So I coordinate this, I teach at it, we have fun with the kids. Because I can talk about it, but it's honestly seeing it, and I say that to all of our donors and everyone, like you gotta see it in action, because that's where it really makes a profound impact, I feel. Seeing, like Ranger Toni said, some of these kids that we work with, they're not going to the ocean. It breaks my heart. That's why I moved to Florida, and I would love to take them on a weekend, but obviously I can't do that. So we are bringing the Refuge and our 4 prominent ecosystems in Southwest Florida, which are the oceans, estuary, coastline, and uplands to them. Many of the areas we go into, which is the Tice community in Lehigh Acres, we are hitting those 2 main areas. Lehigh, it's a far ride. Even for John Bailey to bring a busload of students from Lehigh to the Refuge, they don't get much time, especially with the traffic, getting onto Island, getting off to Island, and getting back to Lehigh. I mean, where I live in Fort Myers, Lehigh alone is a 45-minute drive for me to get to these schools. So we're bringing the Refuge to them as best as we can. And being a former educator in the traditional setting, it's crucial that all these lesson plans are aligned to the state standards, because administration wouldn't let us in if they weren't. Because it's all, I hate to say this, but it's all about the test scores. That's all education is about. And teachers need to be teaching to these test scores. So if we're not aligned to those standards at all, they wouldn't let us in. And I'm gonna pat my team on the back here, because we've had some issues with maintenance work with WOW. And this past 3 weeks, the school, I couldn't have WOW on site, and we said, I have a plan B for you. We can come in and we can still teach. I can still bring microscopes, the specimens, all that. I honestly thought it was gonna be a no. They let us in. Just because they love what we do and they love that the kids, are learning about all of these things that some of them can't even attend to. As Toni said, some of them don't have the car transportation to get over here, don't have the money to pay the fee. So we bring it to them, and I hope you guys saw in the video the smiles of these kids' faces, because that's what it's about. They are our future. And unfortunately, a lot of these kids today are on technology. We all know that. And if we can bring nature to them in a fun and meaningful way, they will be our future stewards of it. So I love what I do. I love the kids. I really love the middle school kids. Not gonna lie. But that's what I taught, middle school and high school. But it's just great to see the kids engaged, fully engaged in their learning and having fun. Any questions about WOW? We teach 10,000 kids a year, over 10,000 kids a year. And the schools were roughly, depends on the size of the school, it's roughly between 9 to 11 schools we can get to in a year. This year, I didn't have to reach out to anyone, any schools. They all contacted me and said, when can you make this work? So it's really definitely becoming a popular program that schools want us, and as Toni said, we're one team, and full-time team, it's myself and my associate, that's it. And then I have an intern, and then I rely on volunteers who are former educators, and then I get a ranger once to twice a week as well. So it's just really remarkable that what we're doing with a short amount of team members, and it hit that number every year.
Very good. Amazing.
Toni,
Yeah.
I think you should talk about the Sanibel school and what you're doing with
Yes.
those kids, because
Yeah, so right next door we have the Sanibel School. They can walk over. There is what's called the WEB, the Wildlife Education Boardwalk. You all can access the WEB by walking down the Indigo Trail, and it's this really cool double-decker pavilion. And the school kids walk over to the WEB a full week every month. So we've developed curriculum for the Sanibel School where they come over for a full week every single month, and it's a different theme every month. It's something we've wanted to do, and we kind of, the partnership for a while, we were doing it when I first came on as an educator, and then I went on to a different role. Anyway, we kind of rekindled this partnership with Sanibel School, and they can come over anytime they want. They've got a key, they can access the web, and the teachers just weren't using it as much. They're kind of, not that they're scared to be in nature, but I feel like, I think they kind of are nervous that the kids might ask, what is that bird? Or what is that? You know what I mean? So to have a ranger greet them at the web, teach the lessons, So every kid, kindergarten through 5th grade, gets a full lesson, a full week every month with a different theme. They're loving it. And then the middle school, we take them kayaking and biking. They get more active learning. So every kid from the Sanibel school is getting full learning. And that's happened, this is the 3rd year we've been doing that. So they're loving it, and that's happening. So thanks for asking about that, Susie. So we can't forget our own school right here either. They're coming over to the web also. I want to point this out. Anybody gets Ding on the Wing? It is our electronic newsletter. I just want to make sure. This is something that comes out on Thursdays through the Ding Darling Wildlife Society. It is an awesome newsletter. It comes out on your email. You don't even have to open if you don't want to. This is how I find out my information about the refuge. I often forget what's going on. I'm like, oh yeah, Teddy Roosevelt's coming this week. It's so well done by their interns. Anyway, it's really good information. We put rare sightings in there. This morning we were planting a butterfly garden at the refuge, so I quickly took pictures, so they'll be the first people to see it. But Ding on the Wing is this really cool electronic newsletter. In case you haven't signed up, we'll be able to put it around in case you want to sign up for Ding on the Wing. I can't forget that. Pocket refuges. Here's something else we're doing in the urban communities. We now are up to 18 pocket refuges out in Lee County. And it really started out as a butterfly gardens, so we're putting some at the refuge right now, but it really then turned into more veggie gardens too. You ask kids where their food comes from, you don't even want to know what they say. McDonald's, you know, Publix, Walmart, Takis, those weird hot crunchy things. Yeah, you're just like, what? They don't even know their food is grown. You know what I mean? So anyway, we're trying to grow food with children. And it has started in some of them where they're growing food and it's coming back and actually being put into the cafeteria in some schools. They're now putting a garden at the Sanibel school, which is great. They're doing more hydroponics. So it did start out, we're calling them pocket refuges. And we're helping fund that through the Ding Darling Wildlife Society. Soccer for Success. You know, you can put binoculars in the kids' hands and tell them, let's go birding, and that's great. And we might make that connection and do that. A lot of kids don't have access to binoculars. Or that might be a one-time opportunity with Melissa or I. But kids connect with kicking a soccer ball, putting a basketball in their hands. That might be a connection for them to get out into nature and to put down the technology. So we are connecting with University of Florida IFAS with these pocket refuges, and they're learning how to make good choices with what is a good size portion for, thank you, I was trying to think, what am I trying to say? Portion control on your plate. They're learning about how to eat when it comes to portion control and make good choices for breakfast, and that you should eat breakfast. We're finding kids aren't eating breakfast. And then they're learning soccer skills. And we've been doing that at 2 different schools now, and it's becoming, because a lot of these kids love soccer in these communities in Tice and in Lehigh Acres. And so handing out soccer balls to these kids is like handing them gold.
Yes.
They're really enjoying it. It's getting them outdoors and getting them off technology. So these things are working. So we're doing those types of things. Student scholarships. Should I talk about scholarships?
I can talk about that because
Yeah.
I'm assessing them right now. So we offer scholarships for high school graduates and college graduates. This year I can tell you, because I was doing that before I came here today, there are 35 applicants that have applied. And so as part of the education committee, we have to read through, they have to write an essay for us, get 3 letters of recommendation, submit their transcripts. Some also will submit their college acceptance letter as well. And so then we assess them, and then our committee gets together and we determine who are those highest applicants that will be receiving funding from $1,000 to $5,000. It has to be certain criteria that they're going for: environmental science, conservation, whether it's environmental engineering. I've seen a lot of those like I said, it's very fresh in my memory right now, within the last few days. So, and then we are discussing as a committee to come back to, they used to do, this was before me, and then COVID hit, they used to do like a little celebration at the end of all of it, where they do like a little banquet type thing. We are discussing to bring that back this year, but nothing has been set in stone. But it's a great way for these individuals to earn, free money when they're going to school, because let's face it, college is expensive. Going for a master's or your doctorate is also expensive as well. So any way that we can help these individuals is a great thing. That's it. Connect with us.
Anne-Marie and Tony.
Yeah, Anne-Marie and Tony. Anne-Marie's my executive director for Dean Darling Wildlife Society, and Adam is from Tarpon Bay Explorers. He is the general manager. And then of course, Ranger Tony here for the government side. Any questions?